So my name is Maddie and today I'm going to actually watch this new video that I wanted to watch, and I really like this kind of histories. And I mean, it's not even a history, it's going on right now. So this is the video made by General Knowledge. This is about Transnistria, and I know that this is a part of this is a kind of a fraction going on. It's kind of a Russia's communist parties under control. So yeah, it's going to be interesting what's going to be this story is about. So yeah, let's watch together.
Exist is probably about to disappear. They fly a red flag with a green stripe in the middle. On the top left is the classical golden hammer and sickle with a
Yeah, this as I said, this is a communist party, and like this, I think Transnistria is a river, or maybe like kind of a river, or the Transnistria country's name is done by the river's name. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like because of this, mainly the people of Transnistria mainly are vote for, mainly are for Russia. But yeah, let's see what's going on there.
star, which we always associate with the USSR.
Yeah.
A haven of Soviet communism, the forever unrecognized breakaway state that has drawn the attention of people from all over the world, might be in its final days. Its biggest supporter, Russia, is now busy with a never-ending war against Ukraine, one of Transnistria's neighbors.
The fact that it's still going on, Ukraine war, like so many wars already, like this is the main war, I guess, the start of 2020, and it is still going along with other wars. This is the world we are living right now. So yeah.
Where the East, which now creates a very hostile separation between the two. Russia's economy is also completely focused on the Ukraine war and struggling to finance anything else. This includes supporting Transnistria with money, resources, weapons, and soldiers. Their existence so far has only been possible with the Russian lifeline, and that is running out. In the south and west, they border the country that they actually belong to, according to international law, Moldova.
Moldova, yeah. Forgot the name, country's name.
Growing tired of having a sliver of their territory act independently, who sees their status as a Russian puppet as a threat to their sovereignty, and who is more and more looking.
Yeah, I think Moldova is a democratic country, I think.
The integration with the European Union and even a potential full-on reunification with their historical brother nation of
Romania. That's the country I was thinking about.
Automatically into NATO, a road that might follow anyway with their own sovereignty within the EU. Those two paths would not allow Transnistria to exist. Moldova, right now, might have a difficult time exerting their sovereignty there, but the Romanian army and NATO forces would take it without the slightest issue, especially with Russia unable to help. So how could this takeover happen? What is the history behind Transnistria's existence as a unique de facto country that almost no one else recognizes, and which maintains a Soviet communist-like regime up to today?
Very interesting topic. Yeah, right now I know all of that. Like, let's see what's going on right now.
To understand that it's not really a country, it's a time capsule. If you walk through the capital, Tiraspol, you're greeted by massive statues of Lenin, streets named after October Revolution heroes, and other landmarks that we associate with Soviet times. But this isn't just a vintage aesthetic that they choose to have. It's the result of a very specific and very intentional piece of actual Soviet engineering. Geographically, we're talking about a very thin ribbon. Like
geographically, it's actually very far away. Like it's far away from Russia. Like Ukraine is between them, but Dniester River. Yeah, that's the river's name.
Back in 1924, the Soviets, which controlled the region, created the Moldavian Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic, massive, right here. It was basically a propaganda tool. The idea was to create a fictional Soviet Moldova on the doorstep of Romania, which at the time controlled Moldova proper, to eventually justify taking the rest strategy that they used in Georgia when they helped South Ossetia and Abkhazia break away. The same thing they did with Ukraine in modern times when they took over their western regions with fake separatist troops to justify later invasions. Back then, in 1940, thanks to the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with Nazi Germany, Stalin did exactly that. He seized
Just thinking about this like makes me so angry. Like,
thin strip of land to create the Moldavian SSR. For 50 years, this worked fine under the iron fist of Moscow. But as the 80s rolled around, the stitch began to rip. Now, before we go on with the video, quick question. Are you really smart or just lucky? This video is sponsored. You can check the most. So where the app, duels, and find
such
out
an interesting
actually the smartest
sponsorship.
actually with me. People in the main part of Moldova, the Bessarabian side that used to be part of Romania, started looking towards their roots. They wanted their own language back, the Latin alphabet, and scariest of all to the Kremlin, a potential reunification with Romania. The people on the left bank.
So, do they actually have like a Latin language?
Heavily industrialized
Like, do they
by
speak
Soviets,
in
was
Latin
artificially
in
filled
Moldova?
with Russians and Ukrainians too, who had no interest in being a part of a Romanian-speaking state. There was also always a Russian strategy, from the Russian Empire to the Soviet Union to the Federation today. Step 1, annex the territory. Step 2, remove the native population, either by killing them or sending them to a random place in Siberia. And step 3, replace them with Russians who can claim some type of de facto ownership over it moving forward. And it worked. In 1990, when Moldova declared independence, displaced with the support of the Russians, declared their own separate sovereignty as a second Moldova, the Transnistrian Moldavian Republic, PMR. By 1992, the tension snapped into a war. It was short but pretty brutal. About 700 people died, and it only ended when the Russian 14th Guards Army, which was already stationed there in a pretty suspicious way, stepped in to back the separatists. A ceasefire was signed, a peacekeeping force was established by Russia, and for the next 30 years,
Such an asshole.
nobody forgot Transnistria existed. It became a frozen conflict. Moldova couldn't take it back because of the Russian troops, and Transnistria couldn't get recognized by anyone except other breakaway states like Abkhazia, which, like we saw, was another Russian puppet state that existed in that sphere of influence of post-Soviet Russia. They lived in a pretty weird limbo. They had their own money, the Transnistrian ruble, which you can't use anywhere else, their own license plates, their own passports that no other country but Russia accepted.
It's a Russian language,
For
right?
decades, Transnistria's independence was an illusion paid for by Moscow, but it didn't really trick anybody else. The business model was simple. Russia sent free natural gas to Transnistria. Transnistria then
The fact that it has pipeline to it directly, like through Ukraine, very interesting.
They then sold the electricity from that plant back to the rest of Moldova and I think some other countries in Europe too for cash. This kept the lights on. It paid the pensions and funded the Sheriff Conglomerate, which is a pretty shadowy company owned by former KGB agents that basically owns every supermarket, gas station, and
Do they still own it?
in the region. They also own a football team that competed in the UEFA Champions League a few years ago. It's a very strange and probably very corrupt system. They essentially control every single thing in the region. But it worked as long as Russia was wealthy and Ukraine was neutral enough to let the gas pipes run through, the status quo held. But then came February of 2022 when Russia invaded.
Of course, like actually small state, like I didn't even know like what's going on in the small types of European states closer to Russia, like what's going on in there. But after the Ukraine war, like lots of things have changed for them, like as for Azerbaijan, Armenia for them, and others too.
Turned from a strategic asset into a prison. Before the war, Transnistria's lifeline was the Ukrainian border. That's where the goods came in, especially because there was some kind of embargo for a little while for the rest of Moldova, so it was the only way in. But the second the first Russian missiles hit Kyiv, Ukraine slammed the border shut. They viewed the 1,500 Russian troops in Transnistria as a potential dagger in the back that could be used to open up a second front. And of course, they weren't about to let them be resupplied. Suddenly, Transnistria was physically cut off from its main benefactor, its only benefactor, really. To get anything in or out, they now had to go through Moldova. The economic blockade that Transnistria had complained about for years,
They actually don't have any
and
like
inescapable reality.
direct supply to
More about taking over
ocean,
than they did
like
about the risk
Moldova too.
in Transnistria. Of course, maybe they didn't see the risk as being real. We all remember the Kremlin's speeches of how the war would take 2 weeks, and 4 years later, here we are with Ukraine soldiers preventing Russia from moving the front line forward as little as a few centimeters. But now we get to why the clock is ticking. As we stand here in 2026, the pillars holding up Transnistria have crumbled, or at least started to crumble. The first pillar was the gas supply. The transit deal that allowed Russian gas to flow through Ukraine expired at the start of 2025. Ukraine refused to renew it, calling it a historic moment of decoupling. Without the gas, their economy is a car running on fumes. They can't generate the free electricity they used to sell, and they can't heat their homes without racking up massive debt that they can't pay. The second pillar was Russian subsidies. The war in Ukraine has drained Russia's treasury. Moscow used to dump
Hope so.
hundreds of millions of dollars into Transnistria to keep it afloat. But now, every ruble is going to the front lines in the Donbass. Even if Russia wanted to send more troops or supplies, they couldn't. They're separated by a hostile Ukraine that has spent years fortifying its western border. Russia's protection is now just a diplomatic ghost. The third pillar was a neutral Moldova that wouldn't have the power to do anything about the situation. But not only has the situation changed, Moldova is probably about to change too. While Transnistria is sinking, Moldova is moving, led by pro-Western leadership.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Herself is Romania. Moldova is sprinting towards joining the European Union. They've achieved
Are they gonna join
success
Romania or
in
just
integrating their economy with
separately joining EU?
They saw what happened to Ukraine with the Russian invasion after part of the territory was already backed by Russian separatists. They don't want to follow the same path. For the average Transnistrian, the choice is becoming pretty stark. You can stay in a collapsing, unrecognized Soviet museum without any support, or take a Moldovan or even Romanian passport. People, honestly, most of them have already gotten Moldovan passports because Moldova doesn't recognize their sovereignty. They see it as a piece of their land under temporary Russian occupation. They manage this through a bureau called Bureau for Reintegration, which handles the technical side of the situation, like certifying Transnistrian birth certificates or helping local businesses register as Moldovan companies so they can export to the EU. But as of 2026, their gloves are also off. The Moldovan government has shifted from a strategy of slow dialogue to economic squeeze, sort of, by unilaterally imposing Moldovan taxes and custom duties on Transnistrian firms and proposing an international civilian administration to replace the separatist sheriff.
Yeah, it is very interesting, like how they operate. Like Moldova actually don't actually recognize Transnistria. So the schools, like, do the schools have under Moldova? That's the question. Like police, local police, like military. Maybe military was by Russia, but yeah, very interesting. Like how do they work together?
Is over. Their goal is no longer just to settle the conflict, but to fully absorb the territory into the Moldovan legal and economic fold. This would be a shock mostly for the elite that rules Transnistria, although, of course, the integration of these Russian people in a more and more anti-Russian Europe might also be a challenge. So, what happens next? The most likely scenario for the near future isn't another war. There's no way that Transnistria could withstand one. It's just a collapse. Transnistria is in an asymmetric state. It can't pay its soldiers if its gas is cut off by Moldova, who now controls the entry points, and if its youth keeps fleeing there's also a really growing Romanian shadow. As Moldova integrates with the EU, the talk of reunification with Romania, the very thing that started the 1992 war, is back on the table. Not as a nationalist threat, but as a pragmatic shortcut into the safety of NATO for the prosperity of the European single market. If Moldova joins the EU
Like,
or merges with Romania, or
it's
both,
very interesting. Like, not only Transnistria could be in Moldova, but Moldova could be in Romania.
the Transnistria dream was built on the idea that the Soviet Union would one day return to reclaim them. In 2026, it's finally becoming clear nobody is coming. And when the West starts knocking on the door, Transnistria might not have an option other than to open up and let them in. The world will lose its last relic of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, very interesting topic, as I said. Let's hope like everything is going to be good, but we know how life works and world works, I guess. So yeah, but yeah, very interesting topic. So there we go, that's my reaction. Hope to see you next time.